Ladies and gentlemen, the time has finally arrived. The early premiere and screenings for Halloween Kills had just concluded. The masses have spoken, the early Halloween reviews are now officially in, and on today's video, we are going to be dropping some major spoilers in regards to what's going to happen in this movie, which I do want to go on ahead and give you guys a disclaimer to say that if you don't want this movie to be ruined for you, or if you somehow want to go into this movie blindly, then at some point during this video, I am going to warn you one last time before we really tackle some heavy spoilers that's really going to shock a lot of you guys if you stick on through. Now, I also want to go on ahead and put this on record to say that I myself have not seen the film. However, I do in fact know a few people and I do have some connections here and there, specifically with two friends that I know. So everything that I'm about to share with you guys on today's video either comes from them, it comes from articles and reviews posted online, and early reviews posted on YouTube. Now, first things first, this movie is universally praised as being so much more better than what Halloween 2018 was, which is a good step up. The story is stronger, the character development is stronger, Michael's viciousness and his overall tenacity of doing what he does is upscaled to such an extent that one of my buddies went on to tell me that Michael kind of carries the characteristics of Jason Voorhees in this movie. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, based on the synopsis being posted online, based on a few people having to tell me what they saw from the film, case in point, Michael is very violent in this movie. As a matter of fact, this movie, Halloween Kills, actually went as far as to push the boundaries even more than what Halloween 2018 did, because apparently enough, there is a moment in this movie when looking back on Halloween 2018, you would say to yourself, okay, Michael is a killer, but he wouldn't go that far now, would he? Involving specific elements that you really wouldn't think a grown man would carry out. Well, in this movie, there is nothing that is off limits. Apparently enough, pets, grown-ups, children, kids. So that really goes as far as to tell you something, perhaps maybe even babies, infants, and based on some of the articles that I was reading and based on some of the conversations I was having, it goes without question that everyone universally agrees that this Michael Myers from Halloween Kills tops Michael from Halloween 2018, which is essentially a good thing. However, when looking at the overall dynamic of the Strode family, a lot of people would look at Laurie Strode's character and just simply paint her out to be a scream queen. Well, in this movie, it looks as though they explore the elements of fear more so than having PTSD or exploring any of the post-traumatic near-death experiences that we've seen in Halloween 2018, because if you really stop and pay attention to what Halloween 2018 was, it was a PTSD film for Laurie Strode's character. It went as far as to shine light on the element of trauma, the element of hesitation, and this movie here, this movie apparently enough focuses more on the element of fear and what many other people are claiming to be indirect awareness. Now, from all of the information that I've gathered, it really looks as though this movie is a genuinely good horror movie, and that is so hard to say in today's climate, given the fact that everything is jump scares, everything is lacking in some department, whether that be the story, whether that be the connection to the characters. This movie in and of itself went as far as to fix all of the nooks and crannies that 2018 had presented, and it goes as far as to tie in with everything 2018 presented, including 1978's original Halloween film, which at the same time also opens up a can of worms involving specific characters. Now, just as many people had suspected, this movie is going to feature a lot of people dying, which we kind of already knew, because as soon as Michael Myers had left that burning building, we knew that shit was about to go down. However, right now, at this current point in the video, I am going to be sharing the spoilers in which I have read and the spoilers that I was told in regards to this movie. So I hope you guys really get a good understanding as to what this movie so far is based on and the way it kind of flows, right? In retrospect, it's a lot better than 2018's variation. The story's stronger, the characters are stronger, there is a lot more violence in this movie, and Michael doesn't even come off as Michael in a sense, because from all of the information gathered, Michael is just a savage, a killing machine, and at this point, it doesn't matter who gets in his way, whether that be an adult, whether that be a child, you're going to face Michael's wrath whether you are aware of it or not. So, from my understanding based on all of the reviews that I've seen, a lot of people are saying this movie is a lot better than Halloween 2018. However, the movie is getting a few bad reviews only because they're saying it's a bit too violent. Michael Myers doesn't really come off as Michael Myers, he comes off like Jason Voorhees, and we're gonna touch up more on that a little later on in the video, but a few people even on Rotten Tomatoes have found this to be psychologically troubling after watching it. So that really goes as far as to say something, because if people are mad due to the fact that this movie is that violent, then I don't know what else to say, right? It's a fair criticism, I would say, at least to a certain extent, but what I care about most, in my own opinion, is the story, and the story, apparently enough, does connect very well to not only Halloween 2018, but also Halloween 1978, in which, as a matter of fact, it goes on to actually fix a lot of the problems from Halloween 2018. It removes a lot of the quirky jokes that we've seen Halloween 2018 try to pull off and really didn't stick with the audience, which, again, is subjective. You may like it or you may not, as some of the hoo-hoo ha-ha jokes and comments that we've seen in Halloween 2018 are not so much present in this movie, which I think is a good thing. You don't need this movie to just be filled with jokes. Maybe have a few moments of relief, right? So your tension can kind of wind on down so it can build back up again, but by no means does this movie, based on from what I've read and I've seen, include any sort of peanut butter on the penis jokes, which is a good thing. Now, as for the spoilers, here we go. Now, from my understanding, it looks as though Karen dies within Michael's house. Now, Michael's mission, apparently enough, is for him to go home. Now, the town is aware, Tommy is aware, all of the folks are aware that there are these grisly murders that are happening, and mind you, this movie roughly takes place between 45 minutes to an hour after the events of Laurie setting the house on fire, right? So again, same night, same setting, and the way everyone else within the town of Haddonfield finds out about this is due to all of the news reports going on about these grisly murders, which again, for those of you that have went to the premiere or have seen the test screenings of this, you guys can comment down below to either confirm or deny the following spoilers, but everyone ends up learning of this. Tommy Doyle ends up rounding everyone together, and the moniker of Evil Dies Tonight carries on throughout the film, right? So Tommy is kind of leading the charge in wanting to take down Michael because he obviously had a horrifying experience 40 years ago, so it's time to get some payback. Right now, let's go back to Karen real quick. So again, for those of you that have seen the film, you guys can let me know, confirm or deny in the comment section below. It appears as though the final confrontation somewhat takes place inside of Michael Myers' home, and there is a huge showdown that happens within the Myers residence. Apparently enough, Michael actually ends up slicing the throat of Sheriff Brackett, which he comes to help, and to no avail, Sheriff Brackett goes down, as well as apparently Tommy Doyle. Now, what's interesting about Tommy Doyle, from what I heard and from what I read, is Tommy actually has his bat be removed from him and used as a weapon to beat Tommy to death. So yes, apparently enough, Michael Myers beats Tommy Doyle to death by using his own bat, and Lindsay actually survives. Now, if this is true, and if the spoilers about Lindsay are in fact correct, then Lindsay is going to survive and make it all the way through to Halloween Ends, and we're gonna have to wait and see what happens, right? However, apparently enough, during the engagement between Karen and Michael, Karen is apparently either on the phone or is using the phone to some extent, and on the other line is Laurie Strode, her mom, and the way she dies is actually very reminiscent to Halloween 1978 when we get to hear how Michael is breathing over the phone, which is very eerie and a huge callback, I would say, to all of the fans of Halloween 1978, only because we saw that happen before, and apparently enough it happens here again. But there is kind of a twist with Michael's character. Now again, apparently enough, according to the information provided, Michael really has no motive. Michael sees Laurie as just another babysitter. It is what it is. You're not my sister. You're not anyone important. You're just standing in my way. Now, I don't know how some of you guys may feel about this. Obviously enough, the motive of getting revenge after nearly being set on fire is kind of a good enough reason to go after somebody, but again, there is no clear-cut motive that Michael just wants her. Otherwise, he would have traveled to said places where she was, i.e. the hospital, which apparently enough, according to some of the spoilers and information provided, that doesn't appear to be the case to some extent, but rather Michael is simply trying to go home. Now, again, take that with a grain of salt. I do want to get your thoughts in the comment section below about the overall mindset that Michael probably has in this film, because surely enough, if he sees these women, he's going to want to come after them, but at the same time, it's not his goal. It's not his goal to hunt down and kill Laurie as he did in the previous Halloween films, which are no longer canonical following the events of Halloween 1, Halloween 2018, and now of course Halloween Kills. So I'm not sure how you guys may feel about that, considering the idea of Michael kind of having this goal in the other Halloween films, whereas here he just wants to go home for whatever reason. And it also apparently looks as though the tagline of the more he kills, the more he transcends is actually a thing, which, to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of. I don't really see the point of making Michael Myers this indestructible, immovable object that can just take nuclear blast and then just survive, right? Because when looking at Michael Myers' character here, objectively, surely enough, he may be prone to pain. He might be immune and be able to sustain more pain than some of us may, as an example being shot, of course having your fingers cut off, stuff like that, right? And it's a little weird because if you want to retrospectively look at Michael's character here in Halloween Kills by comparison to, let's just say, Halloween Retribution or Halloween 2 or whichever other Michael Myers from the Halloween movies, they're different, right? Because you can't honestly sit here and tell me that Michael Myers from Halloween Kills is the same Michael Myers from Halloween 5, Halloween, you know what I mean? From the Thorn series. They're two very different Michaels, and clearly enough, the way they kind of painted out Michael in Halloween 2018 was definitely not the same way they painted out Michael in, let's just say, Halloween 5, Halloween 6, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it kind of is the whole classic Michael Myers thing, so whether you're a fan of the whole supernatural element or not, apparently enough, this movie kind of explores that just a little bit in shining more light as to what Laurie meant by the more he kills, the more he transcends. Now, earlier I told you that one of my friends described Michael in this film as being Jason Voorhees. Now, the way he had described it to me was Michael goes on to slaughter everybody in the most violent and vicious ways. We're talking about not only just slitting of the throats and snapping of the necks, but Michael is using any objects he can get his hands on. He's using his environment. He's massacring adults and, yes, kids. And from what I had referenced before when looking at Halloween 2018, there was a moment where in Halloween 2018, there was a baby that Michael just so happened to have walked past by. Based on from what I was told, Michael does not care, right? Meaning, it doesn't matter if you're an adult or a kid or a baby, you're gonna get it, you know what I mean? And that really goes as far as to tell us how violent this movie is going to be, and understandably so to an extent, being the fact that if you were in Michael's shoes, you wouldn't care who stands in your way so as long as you complete your goals, especially after nearly burning alive and being left for dead within some building. You wouldn't be a happy camper either, now would you? So from what I know, from what I understand, this movie to me is already going to be divisive because you really can't please everybody. You're going to have those people that wish that Michael had somewhat of a brotherly, sisterly connection with Laurie, and therefore, since they're not related, the movie sucks. Other people are going to say, well, Michael's killing a bit too much, and he's acting on instinct a little too much, and he's being a bit too violent, so the movie sucks, you know what I mean? So either way you want to look at it, you take this movie for what it is, and you find comfort in either enjoying it when you go see the film, or if you want to compare that to your expectations and what you were hoping to have this movie meet, and if it didn't live up to it, then that's fine too. You don't have to like the movie. However, there were a few things in which my buddies have told me, in which other people have commented on videos and made reviews and posted articles online, and that's the overall fact of Michael talking or not, because apparently enough, we will see his face after Karen ends up stripping him of his mask, because the mask gimmick is going to be a thing. Laurie does want to come face to face to see the light fade from Michael's eyes once she ends up killing him for good. So what better way than to do that without the mask, you know what I mean? So if Michael talks, in my own opinion, that's really going to suck, because I personally don't want Michael to talk. If he ends up talking in the film, what more can you do? If he doesn't, great. Don't ever make the guy talk ever, because that's just who Michael is, right? And what's even more interesting is, after trying to get more information about the end, apparently enough, and again, this isn't definitive confirmation, this right here is just a rumor, right? But apparently enough, Michael's real supposed motives and or identity is going to be revealed in Halloween Ends, which that to me is stupid if that is true, because we know Michael Myers, we know his identity, we know where he comes from, the events with Judith, his first victim, the symbolic connection and the emotional investment Michael has with the mask. We already know this. So if they end up revealing something more in Halloween Ends that kind of sets up the tone that there's something more to all of this than meets the eye, which either ends up revealing somewhat of a cult, or if Michael ends up talking, that's going to be really dumb. In my opinion, you may like that, but as of right now, we don't know any of that outside of a few things about this movie that are true. Now, just when you think this movie is going in one direction and supposedly it becomes a little bit too predictable, they end up swerving that completely, which I think is a good thing because you don't want to watch these films and say to yourself, well, I know what's going to happen, this person's going to die, oh, that's going to happen, and this movie ends up doing the complete opposite by kind of stringing you along only to kind of swerve you in the end, right? Now, yes, there are flashbacks, yes, there are going to be moments where Dr. Loomis is apparently referenced a lot actually, and as well as Dr. Sartain and his research, which I find to be more than a fascinating thing only because Loomis gave up on Michael because he knew what Michael Myers truly was, whereas Dr. Loomis kind of wanted to protect him in a way. He wanted to study the inside of what made Michael. We saw that be fairly evident when he went on the bus with him. We saw that when he stuffed him behind the police vehicle. So Dr. Sartain wanted to get more out of it, and he ended up meeting his demise, right? Polar opposites to Loomis. But in retrospect, we do get to dive a little bit more in depth with that in kind of trying to understand the psychology behind Michael and what the heck his true motives really are, because once again in this movie it doesn't really give off any kind of notion where he's connected to Laurie, but instead he's doing his own thing. He's on this path, so to say, of destruction, and we're trying to understand as to why, right? Now, another thing that one of my buddies had told me, and which I've also seen online, and I want to go ahead and confirm and or deny with those of you that have went to go see this for yourself, is apparently enough Michael gets jumped by the mob and they beat him down really bad, of course led by Tommy Doyle, and Michael just gets right back up as if nothing even happened. If this is true, then I can kind of see why a lot of people are complaining to say, he's just Jason Voorhees, what the hell is going on, you know what I mean? Because I don't ever recall, to my knowledge, any moment in time throughout the entirety of Halloween where Michael Myers was jumped by a gang of people only for him to kind of bounce back up and assumingly just slaughter everyone that's there, right? So if this is true, for those that have seen the movie, confirm and or deny, I have no doubt that it will be a really cool encounter for the town folks to possibly catch him walking down the street and they jump him right then and there. It's kind of interesting to me if they're going to kind of beat him either into submission or try to beat him to death, because if this is true and the town folks are trying to jump Michael to the point where they're trying to kill him, then I'm genuinely curious if they're trying to inflict lethal blows, meaning using crowbars to the head, using metal baseball bats to the head, possibly stabbing Michael, shooting him in the head, you know what I mean? If they're just simply trying to beat Michael into submission, that's bad. That's really bad. And it wouldn't make any sense, realistically speaking, if there's a serial killer walking around for all of us to band together only to beat his ass, and that's about it, right? You either beat him to death or you beat him bad enough until the cops come and putting him away. But we're not just talking about a regular serial killer, we're talking about Michael Myers. So that was in fact one of the other scenes and moments talked about in this movie, and I can't wait to see it happen, specifically when they encounter him. Now, there is going to be a strong moment involving Allison. Now, why is Allison important? Well, if, like I said before, you guys can confirm or deny, for those that have seen it, my friend had told me that Karen is dead, and if that is the case, and this is true, now we have entered Halloween Ends with Lindsay, Laurie, and Allison, and of course, presumably a few other people that had survived this massacre in Haddonfield up against Michael Myers now, right? So what do we do? There's no doubt in my mind that if this is true and Laurie is alive with Allison going into Halloween Ends, you can bet your bottom dollar something big is going to happen at the end of the next movie that's going to shape and literally shake the very grounds in which Halloween walks on. So we're gonna have to wait and see. Not many people were fans of Karen anyway, so you gotta give her props though in this movie for literally running up on Michael, grabbing his mask, removing the mask, taunting him. It's not clear as to how she dies, But apparently enough, once again, as I've stated earlier, it's a slow, painful death for Lori to listen through over the phone, because again, the only thing she can hear is the screams of her daughter, followed by heavy breathing, which of course is Michael Myers, right? So again, to preface it, I did not see this film. I am going based off of the information provided to me by my friends, by a few people that I know, the viewers online, the commenters, the reviewers, the forums, the websites that have went on to post early reviews on Twitter. And it's quite interesting because my reaction to this is I was expecting for there to be some kind of a motive for Michael at least, but apparently enough, this does not seem to be the case, because Michael is going into a directionless path in which he's just going forward and going through anyone he comes across. And it will be very interesting to see what David Gordon Green and others have planned for this final movie coming up next year. Hopefully that is, of course, given the current status of the virus and all of the strains we have going on, hopefully Halloween Ends is not delayed until 2023 or 2024. But I do want to go ahead and get your thoughts on these reactions, these possible spoilers, these reviews, because when comparing this to the other Halloween films, people are saying it's way better. However, the only downside to this movie is Michael Myers is really not acting like Michael Myers, but instead he's acting like Leatherface, he's acting like Jason Voorhees. He is a complete maniac, and I understand many fans of the original 1978 Halloween movie are going to want a more stealthy, maniacal, in the shadows Michael Myers, and sadly enough, I don't believe, based on all of the reviews and all of the conversations being held currently with my own personal friends and with many people in the comment section, is this going to be the case. So if you want to kind of go back and watch the original Halloween movies to where you want more of a maniacal Michael Myers, then you can get that with the older films, but apparently enough, we may not be seeing this from this Michael, because this Michael is just absolutely batshit crazy. So by the end of all of this, with all of the information that you guys have just taken, what are your initial reactions to this? What are your initial thoughts on this? Do you guys personally believe that this had made you more excited to go see the film? Are you guys disappointed? Are you guys kind of in the middle? I want to get your thoughts on this, because there were certain things mentioned that really piqued my interest, but at the same time, there were a few questionable things that I really want to wait until this movie comes out to see, because if true, I may not like it, but it's just me. I do believe that this movie is going to head and shoulders be better than the previous movie, which is a good thing, so we're gonna have to wait and see how this goes. So again, thank you all so much for watching, thank you all so much for being here. If you guys want to go on ahead and start a conversation in the comment section below about this film, you guys can feel free to do so. Just be courteous of other people that really didn't go this far in the video by hearing out these spoilers, so spoiler discretion in the comments, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single video on the channel, as well as giving this video a big fat thumbs up by slapping that like button down below if you guys are simply stoked, ready, and excited to see this film, because I'm ready, I'm excited. It's literally right around the corner, and I can't wait to see what comes out of this going into Halloween Ends. I'm hoping for, and again, this might be shooting a bit high, for like a Lord of the Rings trilogy here, because everyone is praising this second film. The first film was to some bad, to some good, but I'm really hoping that they really execute these next movies, this movie and the next one, in such a way where